In the heart of a bustling city, renowned for its grand clock towers that chimed the hours away, lived a master clockmaker named Alastair. He was a man whose hands could coax life from brass and steel, whose gears and springs spun tales of time itself. But Alastair held a secret, a sorrow as silent as a stopped clock. He had a daughter, Alara, who was born invisible to the world. No one could see her, not the townsfolk, not the customers, not even the reflection in the polished clock faces that filled their shop. Only Alastair could perceive her, a shimmering outline, a whisper of presence that only a father's heart could recognize. Growing up, Ilara's world was the cozy, ticking universe of her father's workshop. The rhythmic beat of 100 pendulums was her lullaby, the scent of oil and old wood her constant companion. She learned the craft not by sight, but by touch and sound. She could feel the faintest imperfection in a gear, hear the subtle dissonance in a chime that others missed. Her fingers, unseen and delicate, could assemble the most intricate mechanisms, her touch a ghost's caress on the delicate workings of time. She was the silent partner, the secret ingredient to Alastair's famed masterpieces. He would often speak to her, his voice a low murmur in the supposedly empty shop, causing customers to cast him puzzled glances. "A bit more tension on that spring, my love," he'd say, and the clock would suddenly tick with newfound perfection. As Ilara blossomed into womanhood, her invisibility, once a simple fact of life, became a heavy cloak. She yearned to walk in the sunlit square, to feel a friendly hand on her shoulder, to be seen for who she was, not just what she could do. She would stand by the window, watching young couples stroll by, their laughter a melody she could only overhear. A deep loneliness began to settle in her heart, a shadow that even the bright brass of the workshop couldn't dispel. She loved her father dearly, but his world was not enough. She craved connection, a single soul to see her as he did. One day, the king, whose grandest palace clock had fallen silent, announced a kingdom-wide challenge. The artisan who could repair the great royal clock, a marvel of engineering that had stumped every expert, would be granted a wish of their heart's desire. For Alastair, this was a chance. Not for fame or fortune, but for his daughter. "Alara," he said, his voice trembling with hope, "this is it. If we can fix it, I will wish for the world to see you." A spark ignited in Alara's spirit. For the first time, she saw a path out of her transparent prison. They traveled to the palace, Alastair carrying his tools and Ilara walking beside him, her presence an unseen warmth. The royal clock was magnificent, a tower of gears and dials reaching towards the heavens, but it was eerily still. The kingdom's greatest minds had failed. They prodded and poked, but its heart remained silent. When it was Alastair's turn, the court jesters snickered at the old man who seemed to talk to himself. Alastair ignored them. He closed his eyes, placing a hand on the cold metal. "Alara," he whispered, "it's your time. Listen to it. Tell me its story." Ilara placed her unseen hands on the clock's massive frame. She didn't see the rust or the grime. She felt it. She felt the weariness in the metal, the strain in the silent gears. She closed her eyes and listened, not with her ears, but with her soul. The clock spoke to her in a language of vibrations and silent tensions. It told her of a tiny, crucial pinion hidden deep within its core that had been knocked out of place by a tremor years ago. It was a flaw so small, so deep that no one had ever found it. She guided her father's hands, her whispers directing his tools through the labyrinth of machinery. "Left, father? A little higher. There, behind the third flywheel." The court watched in baffled silence as Alastair, seemingly guided by thin air, reached into the clock's heart and made a minute adjustment. Suddenly, a soft whirring sound filled the hall. A gear turned, then another. A deep, resonant tick echoed, followed by a second. The great hands of the clock began to move, and as the hour struck, a glorious chime rang out, clear and powerful, for the first time in a decade. The hall erupted in cheers. The king, overjoyed, approached Alastair. "You have done the impossible, master clockmaker. Name your wish, and it shall be yours." Alastair turned, his eyes searching for the shimmering outline only he could see. "Your Majesty," he began, his voice thick with emotion, "my wish is not for myself. I wish for the world to see my daughter, Ilara, who stands beside me now. It was her gift, her heart, that healed your clock." A hush fell over the court. People looked around, confused. Was the old man mad? But the king, a wise and discerning ruler, looked closely at Alastair. He didn't see a madman. He saw a father filled with profound love. He saw the sincerity in his eyes. He then looked at the space beside Alistair, and instead of seeing nothing, he chose to believe. "Let all in this court," the king proclaimed, his voice booming, "open not just your eyes but your hearts. True worth is not always visible to the naked eye." As he spoke, a gentle light began to shimmer in the air next to Alistair. It started faintly, like heat haze on a summer's day, then slowly coalesced. The shimmering outline gained substance, color, and form. First her hands, then her arms, her face, her hair the color of spun gold. Elara stood there, solid and real, blinking in the sudden glare of 100 astonished eyes. She was beautiful, not just in form, but in the gentle strength that radiated from her. A collective gasp swept through the hall. Among the crowd was a young man, a royal astronomer named Cale, who had watched the entire event with fascination. He hadn't laughed at Alistair. He had been intrigued by the clockmaker's intense focus, his whispered conversations, and the impossible precision of his work. While others saw an empty space, Cale had felt a strange, inexplicable presence. When Elara appeared, he wasn't just stunned by her beauty, but he felt a sense of recognition, as if he had already known she was there. He saw beyond the miracle of her appearance. He saw the intelligent, sensitive soul who had understood the silent language of the great clock. In the weeks that followed, Elara became the wonder of the kingdom. But she wasn't interested in the fawning attention of nobles who were only amazed by her story. She was drawn to Cale. He didn't ask about her invisibility. He asked about the feel of the gears, the sound of the springs. He saw her not as a curiosity, but as the brilliant artisan she was. He looked at her and saw the years of quiet dedication, the sensitive heart, and the sharp mind that lived within. They would spend hours together, she explaining the mechanics of time, and he the mechanics of the stars. They found that the ticking of a clock and the turning of the planets were two verses of the same cosmic poem. Elara never lost her unique gift. Even though everyone could now see her, she could still feel the hidden workings of the world in a way no one else could. She and Cale, the woman who could hear the heartbeat of machines and the man who could read the stories of the stars, found in each other a love that was both seen and felt, a connection that was as tangible as a clock's gear and as vast as the night sky. And Alistair, the clockmaker, would look at his daughter standing in the sunlight and know that the greatest mechanisms are not made of brass and steel, but of love and faith. The kingdom learned a valuable lesson that day, that the most precious things in life, like courage, kindness, and love, are often invisible and can only be truly seen not with the eyes but with an open and believing heart. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more tales that touch the heart. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.